Greetings YouTube, Alan Lu back with another video. I just posted my ninja set review, which you can go watch with Nia, going over all of the ninja cards for the set. And for this episode, I'm going to be covering all of the nice new assassin cards and the new hero new. And with me, I have good friend Taotao Chu. Why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself a little bit, say a few things maybe.
Hey Lubers, I'm Taotao. I've been on Alan's channel a couple times now, and I play Assassin on and off.
On and off. Okay, what other heroes do you dabble with?
This set I've been looking at Enigma also, and some of the ninja stuff. But yeah, mostly sticking with Uzuri.
Makes sense. All right, and before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you think the GOAT Taotao missed any cards, or thinks if you think a card is good that he says is bad, you can let him know in the comments. But yeah, let's get started. So first, let's talk about new. Your attacks with stealth get when this chain link resolves, banish all action cards defending this. Instant pay a chi, look at the top card of an opposing hero's deck. If it's blue, you may banish it. And until end of turn, you may play blue cards from that hero's banish zone without paying their cost. So really a mouthful. And her ability has like a lot of parts to it. When new was first spoiled versus maybe now, maybe after playing with it or looking at it a little more, how do you feel about her? One, like her hero text, or two, maybe her place in the meta. Is she OP, as some people are saying? What do you think?
So this text, if you just look at it at face value without looking at any of the surrounding cards, it seems kind of okay and not immediately great. So the stealth part where you can banish stuff that they're blocking with. In essence, if you looked at the stealth cards that existed before part of the Mistveil, most of them just gave either status conditions or had like dominate or other keywords, and they didn't do much by themselves. So what were the initial impressions with the first part is that you're looking at ways to get your opponent to block, which means that from the beginning we were expecting cards with stealth that actually did something. I personally was kind of excited because that means that Uzuri could also get more stealth cards, right? Because stealth cards that do something on hit are good. The second part of the ability, it feels a little hit or miss without the rest of her kit, because kind of if you're in like the early game and you have access to chi, sometimes it just doesn't do anything, right? If you're playing against a hero that doesn't have a lot of blues, or even if they do have a lot of blues and you don't hit, then you kind of just wasted an entire card.
Yeah.
However, I think what ended up happening was that we had a little bit of a Prism Sculptor of Arclight situation where like Prism's ability is kind of bland. You pitch two to make a special shield, but actually the rest of her kit surrounding her is really excellent, and that's what happened here. I think right now New's power level is extremely pushed, given that she has a couple sets worth of assassin cards already, and some of them have been really good, namely Codex of Frailty, Leave No Witnesses, Surgical, but also a lot of her new cards are extremely pushed to make her, I think, a good meta threat. I don't think she's overpowered. She definitely has some checks in the meta, and there are some things about her that make her not compare. There are some parts of her kit that compare favorably against Uzuri, and some that make her maybe a little bit weaker than Uzuri in some situations. Although we gotta pour one out for our spider friend Arachne, because
no contract.
before this set, I think Arachne Copers could kind of delude themselves into thinking that they were still a relevant hero, but now I think there's just no way.
Yeah, they gave
maybe once
the one expansion slot card. And I remember even Graven Call, like Taylor, used Graven Call to good extent in the calling. Congrats to him and shout outs to him, first of all, from the Attack Action podcast. But I remember going to you about that card and you're like, yeah, this card's absolute dog water.
I still don't think it's very good. And in this like upcoming meta, I don't see a place for Graven Call either, with how new and Uzuri is shaping up. So yeah, let's go on and take a look at her kit, starting with the Fabled. So
the Fabled.
Oh yeah, yeah. This reading it sideways a little bit. I think this is very much intended to be an Enigma card,
Yes.
because Zen and New don't really have the like the consistent ability to be doing something on the opponent's turn with a blue. But Enigma absolutely can. Like even if the opponent says I don't attack, so you can't block, and then Enigma can always play an instant, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I think it's very good for her, but save that for the Enigma video.
Yeah.
For new, I don't think this is a very good card.
Yeah, when this card was first spoiled, like obviously my head first went to Enigma, and then I'm reading the conditions. I was like, okay, Enigma can keep this up really easily. You either attack, block, or pitch every turn, and a lot of instant speed interactions, or pitch for footsteps if you're on footsteps versus the new boots. Either way, or not either way, but like if you're on footsteps instead of the new boots, you can just pitch a blue every turn very easily. As long as your opponent attacks. If they don't attack, well then you can maybe play something or do something else. But yeah, new and Zen don't really play on
Yeah.
your opponent's turn like that. So, but
It's early days yet, but I think this card is a design mistake. One for again being another playable fabled, which
for illusionist.
I really don't like the existence of playable fables in the first place, just because of how expensive they are and how already inaccessible Flesh and Blood is at the competitive level. If you want to play something like Assassin is one of the most expensive expensive
And
builds
whose fault
in
is
the entire
that,
game.
Taotao?
I didn't do anything.
Okay. But yeah, no, I
Um,
agree. Like Library, Light of Soul, now Mistcloak Gully.
yeah.
But I guess, in a sense, you could argue maybe it's like, oh, if you want to be an illusionist player, you just have to fork up the big bucks. That's just how it works. And
Well,
maybe
yeah, but that's a bad argument.
maybe that's not even an LSS thing. That's just like a result of the community. But the fact that the Fable, usually the most playable ones always lend to like illusionists or something.
Mhm.
Maybe
I
they
mean,
should
the
do
other
something
gripe
else, right?
The other gripe I have with this card is that it's a landmark, but it's not symmetric, right? It
Yes, it's
feels
not symmetric.
like I know you don't play Yu-Gi-Oh, but back in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh, they had
The
field
field,
cards that
yes, I remember
affected
field
both sides
cards.
symmetrically.
Yes.
But like old field cards affected both sides of the field symmetrically because they're field cards, right? And
Mhm.
Pokemon has a similar thing where like stadium cards they affect both
Yes.
sides symmetrically. But then later on, Yu-Gi-Oh went on to like your field cards actually they only affect you. And then like
I
this is
remember
like
that now.
why does this landmark only affect the player who played it, right? Why doesn't it affect everybody? That doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think they maybe could have put like a keyword in there or something, maybe, or worded it somewhat different. I'm not sure, but yeah, I do think when I was first reading this, I was like, because I considered it to be symmetrical, and I was like, this is really weird. And then
it's
once I found out
basically
it
an
wasn't,
aura,
then I
right?
was like, oh, it makes sense. Yeah,
Like,
they should
like
have
why
just
is it
made
a
a
landmark
fabled
instead of
aura.
an aura? Like it doesn't make any sense. Maybe they wanted to be killed by deathmatch arena, right? So people are taking into that to kill the opposing misclick goalies. Anyway, okay, that's enough of this card.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
like it very much, but
yeah.
yeah, it's also not very good for new. So let's
Mhm.
move on.
Yeah, Beckoning Mistblade. I think when I first saw this, I was like, oh, it was actually leaked pretty early, and I was like, oh, this is
Hmm.
really good. It doesn't have the piercing, so against certain matchups, like if you're playing against Warrior with Dynamos or stuff like that, like you can always swing your other dagger, for example. But it does solve a potential issue, which I kind of saw with News ability, where it's like you can banish a lot of good blues, but if you want to have like a really explosive turn, you need some form of go again. And we'll see some other cards later that help with that. But the weapon also helps with that because if it hits your next blue attack, which you can play from your opponent's banish for free, gets go again, and all of a sudden you're throwing like Macho for 8 dominate go again for free, and it's like great, right? But yeah.
Right, because news ability, the best part about the like the cheat pitch part is that you get to play all of their blues, right? So
Yes.
if they have like blue D reacts, you can play them on your opponent's turn, or blue instants. Like if you're against Enigma, you can play all her blue wards.
Hmm.
So it's quite powerful. Yeah, Beckoning Mistblade. Just I kind of thought the text was fake at first because it didn't have piercing. But if you think about it a bit, piercing would probably be a little bit too powerful on this card. It's
Yeah,
already
a little bit.
generating. It's sort of already 3 value, right? Because if it hits, it gives 1 point of damage and 1 point of action to the next attack. So it's sort of 3 points for 2 go again, which is a little bit higher than most of the daggers are. So piercing would probably be a little bit much.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really powerful. Most like against most matchups, you're going to be running one of these. I don't think you're going to be running 2 because if you're pitching for 2 beckoning mistblades, are you going to have any? Are you going to have 2 more attacks left on your chain, right?
Hmm.
So I think you'd probably want a debuff dagger instead of for your second dagger, but you definitely run one of these because getting that on hit and just having the threat of extending wide is pretty powerful because the previous assassins didn't really have much ability to intrinsically like go wide and have really wide turns, but now new can do that.
Yeah, and even if you're not playing like banished stuff, maybe your hand's really bad, but this hits and all of a sudden you get to play double blue. Whereas Arachne needs to send a whole card and react, and it has to fulfill a
Hmm.
contract, and then he gets go again, right?
Right.
And you get the plus
But yeah,
one.
this
Oh, it's great.
yeah it does a lot. This thing does a lot.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the helmet. This is one of the latter spoiled cards, and when I read it, I was like, wow. I think I remember reading you talk about new before this card was spoiled, and how maybe you don't want to run too many transcend cards. But then when this hat was spoiled, that kind of flipped a switch, right? A little bit.
Right. This card is egregiously powerful.
Egregiously.
I think it's egregious.
You think it's like Crown of Seeds level, or no?
Not okay. I don't know about Crown of Seeds level, but like, so this card, right? It does solve all of her issues with early game, right? Because in the early game, you don't want to be pitching to her native ability to be playing your opponent's blues if there aren't any. But you can always pitch to this to trade one card for one of your opponent's cards into banish. So like, you're also getting one card's worth of macro out of that because the cheat goes back into your deck. This makes new like not just good in second cycle when you're using New's ability, but you're also really good in first cycle to have your transcend cards flip over and do something. All the transcend cards essentially like they're getting 1 point of value from the face ability of the transcend card, and then you get a pitch ability to kind of trade for a card. So just even in first cycle, all your transcend cards kind of go plus 1 point of value somewhere. And this mask is what enables that. So yeah, this card's insane. Blade Break too, and Blade Break is like kind of fine on this because in late game you're just gonna be pitching to new anyways, so you don't need the reaction. Two, I'm surprised it's two instead of something like Battle Worn 1 or even Blade Break 1, because like Flick Knives is Blade Break 1. I think the numbers might have been like overtuned a little bit. Here, but it is what it is. If you're playing new, this is a mandatory legendary for you. Like, you don't really have another good option. I think maybe if you're against KO, you could run balance, but I don't know if balance is even correct into that matchup. When you'd rather just having like you're still going to be playing some transcend cards, and you need them to do something. So like if you don't have this mask in the early game and you transcend and you can't use it, you kind of lose a card anyways. And then balance is at most blocks 2, and then pause for an additional card for block 3 or whatever. So I think this card is just like so flexible for new that you don't really need to consider running a different head.
Yeah, I think this is interesting because, like, for example, we saw in heavy hitters how a lot of the headpieces had powerful effects. Like, for example, Betsy's Good Time Chapeau. It has an engine. It's like pretty good, and it's a rare. So if you want to play Betsy, you don't need to shell out a legendary's worth of a card for like her main engine, right? But then when it comes to this mask, it's like, are you really playing new without this mask? So, and maybe you can.
Like,
maybe it's a completely different deck, or maybe it just doesn't work. But yeah.
Also, Betsy's hat is a rare that costs 5 cents.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas this
thing's gonna be a nice hundo. Yeah.
But maybe depending on drop rates of like legendaries, and for example, the Fabled like Deathmatch Arena didn't come in Rainbow Foil, but Miss Cloak Gully will, so that'll probably alleviate it a little bit. But yeah, not really sure I'm not privy to those details, but just assuming, right? So hopefully it's not too egregious if you want to play new, and you won't have to sell half your collection just to build one deck. But yeah. I guess we can move on a little bit. Like this chess piece, I'm pretty sure it's
that's a draft half. Like any chess that's not Tunic is not worth your time, basically. Yeah, Tunic is like way too powerful. So just move on.
Not even the ninja one. The ninja one has something.
Redback, yeah, forget that. Forget that garbage.
This one also. Well, Fang Strike is that one's the +1, I believe.
Yeah, so Fang Strike is +1. It's a card in your hand that you can play it to give +1, and then Undertow Stilettos, it makes a slither.
That one gives go.
So it gives go again. So these are both extremely powerful. Common equipment, like don't overlook these because they're common. So Battle War 1 is like pretty par for the course for Assassin. Yeah. So let's look at Undertow Stilettos first, because like both of these are essentially competing in slot against one thing. So Undertow Stilettos is probably the weaker of the two. Of these two equipment really? Because of the existence of Black Tech Whisperers. Black Tech Whisperers has sort of a similar ability where it's Battle Worn 1, and you can attack reaction to give go again, but the difference being this one is guaranteed, right? So it always gives go again, but you have to pay 1 into it. And then Black Tech Whisperers, it doesn't cost anything to activate the ability, but the attack has to hit. So here's the pros and cons of both. So Undertow Stilettos, one of the biggest things about it is that it's 2 reactions instead of 1, right? Attack reaction to destroy it, and then a second attack reaction when you play the Slither. It's very big for cards like Bonds of Agony and Double Trouble that we'll get to later, like staple cards in new that require you to react twice or react 3 times. And enabling those conditions is really powerful because those cards have, like, once you fulfill those conditions, they get significantly more powerful.
Yeah.
So that's and similar with like a Rousing Wave versus like Flick Knives, right? Flick Knives is only 1 reaction, Rousing Wave is 2 reactions. So the reason that I think you want most of the time you're going to want Black Tech Whispers is the existence of silver tokens. Black Tech Whispers, at the beginning of your turn, you can buy it back from your graveyard by destroying 2 of your silver. Because you're an assassin, you're going to be running surgical extraction and leaving the witnesses because 2 of the most powerful generic assassin cards, and those can generate silver on hit. And the possibility of getting back that silver means that you can give that go again multiple times in a game. In addition, giving the Slither like reliably from Undertow Stilettos versus like conditionally on hit versus Black Tech Whispers is not that much of a detriment in against the favor of Black Tech Whispers, because New has a ton of ways to get on hits, right?
Yeah.
She's going to be running a ton of attack reaction cards naturally. A lot of them, like a Hiss that we're going to see really soon, just generate a slither for you. So oftentimes your opponent will just not be blocking enough to stop that, or they think, well, maybe you're going to have a Hiss anyways, and you can just go around. So. Black Tech Whispers, I think New is for New, it's one of the most reliable ways, sorry, to phrase it a little bit better, she gets reliable go again from Black Tech Whispers like more than Uzuri or Arachne will, just because she plays more attack reactions than either of those two. So that's why I think you can convincingly run Black Tech Whispers, because otherwise you don't really have a silver outlet, right? Like your options for hands are like Shriek Razors, which is a terrible card. Your chest is Redback Shroud to buy back with silver, which is worse than Tunic. And then your hat, you're obviously running the Mask of Recurring Nightmares. So Black Tech Whispers is the only really good silver outlet left. We're not counting Graven Call because again, bad card. So.
Okay.
So I think that's why you should consider running Black Tech Whispers. However, you also need a copy of the Stilettos in your deck because of Enigma. Enigma is shaping up to be a significant meta threat, and it's very hard to land a reliable hit against Enigma. Like if she sees you pop those Black Tech Whispers, then the wars are coming out, right? Yeah. So Undertow Stilettos. One of the key ways to clear Enigma's board is to go wide with multiple attacks, and Undertow Stilettos lets you do that reliably by making a slither. So that's why I think you still need to have one in your list anyways. Arousing Wave versus Flick Knives, I think is a tougher call. In testing, my personal preference has been for Arousing Wave rather than Flick Knives. So this is for a couple reasons. First, because Black Tech Whispers is your boots, that means you don't have a reliable double react off of equipment unless you're using 2 different equipment. So Arousing Wave, stupid name for a card, by the way. Like, why is it called that? Okay, Arousing Wave, because it generates 2 reactions, enables Double Trouble, enables Bonds of Agony, and I think giving +1 to your attack is a better effect than Flick Knives' effect. Because Flick Knives, the only way you can get an effective -1 with Flick Knives is if you flick a Nerve Scalpel in response to your opponent playing a defense reaction. And often you're not going to be running Nerve Scalpel. Because one of your daggers is going to be reserved for Beckoning Mistblade, your other one is going to be whatever is the most common card in your opponent's deck, and it's probably going to be a Spider's Bite for attack action cards. So flicking an attack, flicking Spider's Bite after they block an attack doesn't do anything, right? So that's why Flick Knives, I think the value is much lower. There is some tangential value in flicking Beckoning Mistblade to give go again, guarantee the go again for your next blue, but that's such a niche situation, and then you don't have your Beckoning Mistblade again. Rising Wave, it always gives a +1, so it's much more reliable to get that on hit, and you can keep both your daggers. So I think this card is better than Flick Knives, if we're new.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Does Slither work on any attack?
Yes, it works on any attack. You can give your CNC go again.
So that would be one more reason for Undertow Stilettos over Black Tech, right? Because Black Tech only works on assassin attacks.
That's true. That's true.
But you could argue that, if you're giving a blue go again, it's second cycle, and if it's second cycle, you're probably winning anyways, so maybe that doesn't matter as much. But yeah, that is also something to consider. If you're playing against a Guardian and they have 2 big blues in Banish, if you have the Slither, you can give it go again if your Mistblade didn't hit, and then you can play the second one, for example, after.
Yeah, that feels like Magical Christmas Land. I think if you're in the second cycle against Guardian and you're already activating New, that it's over at that point, right?
Yeah. So
you're gonna get their Terra Sunders, and yeah.
Yeah, so it does have a little bit, the Slither does have a little bit more application, but maybe over the course of many games, it really doesn't matter that much, and Black Tech maybe is just a little bit nicer because you don't have to pay 1.
Yeah, it's still early days, so I think if you're a new player and you have a spare copy of Black Tech, maybe because you played a different assassin before, you should try them. You try them both out and see which one you prefer. It may be down to preference, depending on how you build your deck.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Mystic Assassin Majestic. We have three of them. First one being Gorgon's Gaze. This one is a 2-cost attack, react yellow. It makes a slither and banish all defending attack action cards on the combat chain. If a chi was pitched to play this, you may play the banished cards this combat chain without paying the cost.
Yeah, this card's ass, as in not good. I think this card, it's basically a 2-card shred that also makes a slither. And the chi condition, I think it's pretty hard to line it up in first cycle to have a chi. So you're not doing that too much. Banish all defending attack action cards. Like realistically, why not just play Yellow Shred? And Yellow Shred is also not even in the deck, I think, because you have so many good attack reactions that give like +3 or whatever. That this card is not it. No.
Not it. All right. Said by the man himself. Siren's Call. 1-cost attack reaction. Red. Look at the defending hero's hand and choose a blue card. Add it to this chain link as a defending card. If you do, draw a card.
I've seen this card be tested online. I've seen some people put it in their sideboards. I personally think it's bad, and here's why. So this card is like it's kind of reminiscent of Shakedown. So like the use case for this is like if you play a 1-cost or like a 0-cost stealth and they block it with 1 card and you don't have a way to go over, you play this instead to yank another card from their hand to like force them to overblock essentially. So you're trading this Siren's Call with your opponent's card from hand. The 1-cost is usually fine because like you can pitch a blue to a dagger and then you can play a 0-cost and then you can play this off the 1 floating left. And then because this card trades evenly with 1 card from your opponent's hand and it draws a card, you're technically up a card, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be that only works if they have a blue in hand. And this card has the shakedown problem where like if you play a Zuri and you land a shakedown, shakedown's text is like if you've reacted this turn or this chain link, on hit, you name a color and then your opponent shows you their hand and you banish a card of that color.
Yep.
So generally what you're doing with shakedown is you name whatever is the most common color in their deck. Let's say they have a lot of reds, you name red, or if they're like a guardian and most of the deck's blue, then you'll name blue, right? Mm-hmm. But shakedown sometimes whiffs, right? Sometimes they reveal their hand and they don't, and just because of like the draw variance, they don't have the color that you name. But often that's still okay because shakedown is a 2 for 6. It's like still brutal assault on rate for attacks. Mm-hmm. This card, if you whiff, you're just down a card. Like it just did absolutely nothing for you, and I that's gonna lead to like enough feels bad that the advantage of generating the card advantage, because shakedown again, if you're successful, it generates the card advantage. But shakedown also does damage, right? This doesn't do any damage. You could consider it against matchups like say Enigma to yank cards out of her hand, or maybe Guardian to yank cards out of their hand. But I think most of the time you would rather either have another reaction that gives +3, or you just have another card that has go again, so you can attack wider if you're struggling into Enigma, because clearing her board by going wide is one of the most important things in that matchup. So I'm kind of down on this card. I don't really think it's worth a reaction slot.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said, or basically all of what you said, but also I think my initial impression upon reading this card was that this obviously plays into her ability where you want to be blanishing blues and then you can kind of steal them and play them yourself.
Right.
But at the same time, that almost feels like a second cycle or like a late game win con. And this doesn't really help you reach second cycle. It kind of just helps make your second cycle better, which is already really, really good. So I can kind of see it in that, or that's how I kind of saw it at first. Whereas maybe you want to be pushing more damage. If it's a matchup, maybe you won't even reach second cycle. Like, is this disruption valuable enough potentially? And the value, as you said, is like if it whiffs, it's obviously horrible. But if it hits, then you trade a card and you get to draw a card, and so.
Yeah, like another use case for it could be like if you're against an aggro deck that doesn't ever block you, because New's hard to block out, and if they'd rather just race you, then maybe you can like yank cards, like forcibly yank cards from their hand. But the problem is a lot of those aggro decks don't run a lot of blues, right? Yeah. Like let's say you're playing against a ninja and they're running like 15 blues. There's a good chance that they just don't have a blue in your hand, and like the last thing you want to do against a ninja is to play a 1-cost card that gets nothing done, right? Yeah. Where you could have blocked for 3 the previous turn instead. So the fact that this blocked 3, you can block 3 with it, but like so do all your other reactions. I don't think you run this.
Yeah, makes sense. And then going on to the last majestic, which is the is the Sacred Art Undercurrent Desires. This card is crazy legendary. If you played another blue card this turn, choose 3, otherwise choose 1. Create a Fang Strike and a Slither in your hand. Banish 2 cards, up to 2 cards, in an opposing hero's graveyard, and transcend. So obviously all of the Sacred Art cards are very, very good. But this one gives you 2 free attack reactions. You banish 2 cards of your choice, and you get the chi back. You get to activate her ability. You get to do a bunch of stuff. It probably leads to some crazy turns.
I think this card is actually just okay.
Really?
So you got to run some number of transcend cards, and this is one of the better ones. So like it is in your deck regardless. I think like if you compare this card to like Enigma's card, Immortal Lunar Shrine, like when you're playing Enigma and if you have like a couple wards on board and you play Immortal Lunar Shrine, like you feel like you feel like Light of Heaven with his BKB, dropping a black hole on 4 people. Like it feels like you're actually just going off at that point when you're
Don't a reference for those who didn't know, realize.
When you're slapping down like the 2 like the 2 spectral shields, and then you have like more wards, and you put a counter on all of them, and they all have go again, and you're swinging for like 4 go again, 3 go again, 2 go again, 2 go again. It just like that's your extreme pop off. Jade Tiger Domain also, like if you can line it up, because it makes 2 tigers, and like if you're buffing your tigers up enough, like that's like it could be 3 go again, 3 go again. So this card, so like think about it in terms of like the numerical value, right? So so transcend, the first off, what you have to do is you have to play another blue. So all the Sacred Arts, unlike the other transcend cards, like with the other transcend cards, you can play one and then play a different blue in instant in response, and then like they both flip or whatever. With the Sacred Arts, because it's a modal card, you have to actually play a different blue before you play this card. For new, it's not that big of a deal, because most of the time you're going to be attacking with the blue first anyways. For Enigma, it's actually a pretty significant disadvantage, because with the Immortal Lunar Shrine, what you'd like to do is play a different play a different transcend card, and then play Immortal Lunar Shrine, make the what you'd like to do is play Immortal Lunar Shrine first, play a different transcend card, flip it into a chi, activate Enigma to make a spectral shield, and then resolve Immortal Lunar Shrine so that you can put another +1 counter on that. But you can't do that because it's modal. You have to play the different blue first. For new, it's not much of a detriment. But what you're doing here is like you're attacking with a blue stealth card, right? Probably like a 0 for 1, and then you have to have this is a 3-card hand minimum, so you have a different blue to pitch for this, and you play this. So you pitch a different blue, you play this, it transcends back, and then you get a Fang Strike and a Slither, and then you banish up to 2 cards. Okay, so if you forget about the banish portion, because the tangible value of that is it depends on what they have in right, it's contextual. It depends on what they have in their graveyard. But if you look at the tangible value, because it comes back into your hand, it essentially is worth like one entire card, right? So like you pitched a blue to flip this over, and the flip value is like basically the same as any of your other transcend cards. So still a card. So you pitched a blue to generate a Fang Strike and a Slither. In other words, like you spent an entire card to generate 2 points of value: 1 Fang Strike, 1 Slither. That's the numerical value up front of Sacred Art Undercurrent Desires. That's why I think it is not nearly as strong as the other cards, right? Immortal Lunar Shrine, always 4 points on the board in terms of attack value, and it awards 2. Like that's like 6 points immediately. Sacred Art immediately is only 2 points. And then you can use you can pitch the chi that Sacred Art turns into to activate your mask or whatever. But that's also, again, trading 1 card for one of your opponent's cards. So that means for this card to be really good, you have to banish something good. Passover is one of the mystic instants that banishes one card from your opponent's graveyard, and that's like a staple card in new, right? You run it. This, for it to be better than Passover, you have to have like 2 good targets, and you don't always have 2 good targets. Like if you draw this in first cycle and they don't have something good in their graveyard, it's really just like a 1 card for 2 points of value. So that's why I'm kind of down on this card.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I was just looking at it through a Christmas Dreamyland lens, but Yeah, I guess if you draw this early, it's not great. Whereas if you're Zen or Enigma, you draw their Sacred Arts early, you get to pop off. But I guess that's also part of like sort of like the assassin feel, right? Where you kind of have to like react a bit to your opponent, do certain things, and maybe play a little slower, maybe play a little faster. I'm not sure, but if it does line up, obviously it's really
Yeah, this
pricey, right?
to me this feels like a second cycle card
Yeah.
where your second cycle is already amazing, right? So like
Okay, but
it actually is
what
almost
about
a
in the
bit
new
more.
mirror though? Because both of your second cycles are amazing. So this card is what pushes you over, right?
But the other new also has this card, so it doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
Yeah, but for example, if one's running it and one's not, right? Like you always run it then, right?
But you're gonna run it regardless because it's one of the better transcend cards,
Yeah,
and like you're still gonna run some number of transcends.
yeah,
So I think so. It's still an auto include. I just don't think it's that amazing,
that's fair.
especially compared to the ridiculousness that Immortal Lunar Shrine is.
Yeah, I think
So
I think this card will let you do some crazy things, but maybe evaluating the card as a whole across many games, it's not like one of your like big bangs, for example, right?
mhm.
All right, makes
Yeah,
sense. Moving on to Tide Chakra. Let's just go straight to the blue one because Mystic blue. Unless you think the
right.
reds or yellow is worth playing, but
So I think if you're running a lot of like zero cost stealth, then you're gonna have the blue for your transcend. In which case you can consider running the reds. The issue is that it's like this is inconsistent compared to how incredible Hiss is. Because Hiss, let's just go to Hiss first.
yeah, because
Because
his is
we
better.
gotta talk about Hiss. Like Hiss, let's talk about Hiss and Venomous Bite before we go back to Tide Chakra, right?
Hmm.
So Hiss and Fangs and Venomous Bite always give +3 or +2 +1.
Hmm.
And then if you've pitching a blue, so it's it's not like free to pitch a blue because often like let's say you have like a 2 card hand and a tunic, right? You play your attack and then you tunic for this. Like it's actually just a +3. You don't have the additional condition. But
Hmm.
often if you have a wider hand, it's a fairly easy condition to fulfill, where you're going to get the extra thing. So Hiss, I think, is more powerful of the two because it lets you go wide without needing to on hit, which is why I think a lot of lists are running the reds and the blues of Hiss.
Hmm.
Venomous Bites are a little bit more dicey because sometimes +3 or often +3 is all you need because again on a 1 power card it goes up to 4, right? Going
Yep.
from 4 to 5 is a little bit less necessary, but maybe you get around a D-react, so it's still good. I think just Hiss being able to go wide is much better. But these have a very easy to fulfill condition. There's still 1 cost to go +3. Now, if you compare to Tai Chakra, um, going to +5. So if you compare this to Venomous Bite, right?
Hmm.
Venomous Bite is like +4 at best, but the condition is pretty easy.
Right.
This is +5 at best, but the condition is really hard. Like it's
Yeah.
really hard to get the transcend condition reliably.
Hmm.
Whereas Hiss and Bite are just always live. And I think one of the problems when you're deck building new is that she has so many playable attack reactions that you cannot afford to run mediocre attack reactions. You have to run just only the best ones because if you only run the best ones, there are hands where you're just gonna have 4 attack reactions, or you're playing the mirror and then like they yoink your the one attack in your hand somehow, right?
Hmm.
And then your hand is just like three
Because
attack
they played
reactions.
Siren's Call.
Right, of course. I
Hmm.
was more thinking like they get the triple react Bonza Agni, but yeah, Siren's Call. Maybe it was Siren's Call.
Hmm. I mean, I guess the argument is
Um,
that blue Tide Chakra like has the 1 for 3, but even then, as you said, blue
but
Venomous
you have to
Bite, that's one for
transcend,
two.
right?
Yeah.
Like generally when you're playing blue reactions, it's going to be on a second cycle or like a crappy first cycle hand.
Yeah.
In which case, like, do you really have like another transcend card to make that work, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if you're going to be able to just fulfill that easily. So I think you should just be running Hiss and Venomous Bite.
Yep, makes sense. And then the other one, Intimate Inducement, another attack reaction. It costs 0, only +1, but look at the top 4 cards of the defending hero's deck and choose a card. If it's blue, it has 0 base defense. Put the chosen card onto the active chain link. So this one is like somewhat disruptive. Like it reminds me of Siren's Call a little bit, where like it plays into your ability of banishing stuff, but in terms of like raw damage and value, it doesn't really help you get there, which is kind of what I feel like new
So
needs in a way.
I think this card is really hard to evaluate.
Hmm.
If you look at like the scaling of it, it's not like the power, right? So all the colors get +1, but it's looking at 4 cards versus 3 cards versus 2 cards.
Yeah.
So if you remember an old card from Everfest called even bigger than that,
Yes.
you might want to look that one up
Yes. No, I'm
for the
sure
viewers.
for the
For the
viewers, yes.
viewers.
EBTT.
Yeah, even bigger than that. This card was interesting. I played it in Katsu back in the day. So
Yeah, Oliver
this one
hates
was
it.
like opt 1 and then reveal a top card of your deck. If it has greater power than the amount of damage to the other turn, make a quick token and draw a card. So it's sort of like a free action point in the best case scenario. And then the reds is opt 3 and the blue is opt 1, right?
Yeah.
If you've ever played this card, you know that opt 3 then reveal is like a lot more than opt 1 then reveal, because this can also dig 4 deep, right? If you bottom 3 cards. So this intimate inducement, because it digs 4, you're looking at a similar numbers game to grab a blue.
Yeah.
If your opponent's running like a quarter of the deck is blue, I think the red one has something like a 77% ish chance to hit. If you do the hypergeometric math, viewers, feel free to fact check me on that. But it's a lot more than the blue one. If you're looking at 2 cards, it's like significantly less than 50% chance to hit a blue. So I think if you're going to run them at all, you'd probably just run the reds. And I don't know if you run them against decks that are very light on blues. And this is one of the harder cards to evaluate. I think there could be a use case for it where the +1 is relevant against decks that can block very well. Maybe you're playing a lot of like red infect cards, red stealth cards that just are 3 power, so your opponent's blocking for 3, and you can get over by 1 and yank a blue. But I don't like the obvious power of this card is not like immediately presenting itself. So I think this card warrants further testing. It doesn't seem amazing compared to like Hiss or Venice by that straight up just give you a lot up front.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at this card, it's just like, even if you do hit and you get to yank a blue, it's not like you're banishing a card from their deck almost, and it's like it doesn't really get you immediate value. And like maybe if you're on like a fatigue more sort of style list, this has like a different place in that. I'm not really sure, but yeah, this, instead of like the raw value of like Hiss and Venomous Bite, this definitely like plays more into your ability a little bit. You get to go fishing a little bit, you get to yank a card, and then from your heal ability, as long as you're attacking with a stealth card, it'll get banished after the chain resolves. So it's interesting, but yeah.
Interesting is the best way to describe it. I don't know if it's good, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. And then after that, all the Mystic attack stuff, like this is the Faint Strike, ephemeral. Thank you. Target attack gets +1, and then target attack gets go again. Attack reactions, and we haven't seen any in the Mystic Assassins, but a lot of attacks care about how many attack reactions you played. So let's move on to the assassin section, and then we'll come back to the Mystic section afterwards. The Majestics, these cards are crazy.
They're so good, dude. I think actually we should start with Just a Nick.
Just a Nick,
because I think this card is more than any other card in the assassin section dictates deck building for it also is one of the reasons that Arachne is like no longer relevant. So yeah, this card's crazy, dude. He doesn't play 1 power attacks, man.
Yeah, that's true. All the contract stuff. But yeah, Just a Nick, choose one or both. Target attack action card with 1 or less base attack gets +5. Target attack with stealth gets, when this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck. So you might be wondering, why is it one or both? This is because basically if you're not playing a stealth card that has 1 attack, you can still play Just a Nick. So you don't have to target only a card with stealth. So
or if you're playing like a 3 power stealth card, you can still make it banish an additional card.
True,
so
exactly,
there is, I guess, niche cases for this. Like the first one, maybe you're running a Rouse or something in your assassin deck,
true,
and you want to give a +5.
Rouse Just a Nick, yeah.
Right. The second one is like if you're like, sometimes let's say you're running a couple of red stealth cards, like a red double trouble or like red infect or something, and then you're about to deck out your opponent and they don't want to block, then you can play this and deck them out. But like the vast majority of the time, you're gonna be playing this on a blue stealth card that has 1 power, and it's gonna make it a 6 power attack that also banishes an additional card off the top of their deck. So a couple things I want to say about this card. First, when this was spoiled, I was really hesitant about it. Especially from I think you always run this in new, right? Like there's no question about it. From an Azuri deck building perspective, I was kind of wondering to myself, like, why not just run another 6 power attack, right? Because like if you play this on stealth, it goes up to 6. You could have just flipped that stealth into a 6 power attack instead, and then like the macro value is basically the same because Just a Nick, it costs because it takes 2 cards out of your deck, but you also banish an additional card from your opponent's deck. And then with a flip, you don't banish the additional card, but your stealth card goes back into your deck, right? So in terms of that value, it was similar, but after testing with this card, it's actually just insane. So there's a few use cases where that just make it way better than just running another random 2-cost like 6 power attack. The first is that the amount of 2 for 6 attacks that Azuri has access to that are actually like really good on hits is actually fairly limited. Like CNC and Shakedown are the obvious ones, but like beyond that, Already Dead sometimes is irrelevant, and then you'll have all the ones that have like conditionally depending on your matchup, right?
Humble,
Sometimes Humble is really good, but sometimes it does nothing. Sometimes Amnesia is really good, but if you're not playing against Katsu, it's really bad. Sometimes the new card, the Weakest Link, is really good. Maybe if you're playing against KO, but it's against everyone else, not so good. But Just a Nick, what it enables you to do is that because there are a lot of new stealth cards that from this set that have 1 power and they have a relevant on hit, like Persuasive Prognosis, right? It just banishes one of the cards from their hand. Like that's essentially another Shakedown, right? You banish a card from the top of their deck, and then you look at their hand and banish a card of the same color. It's very similar to Shakedown.
Yep.
So essentially, if you play this and you play Just a Nick, then you have 3 more copies of Shakedown. It's not exactly the same as having 3 more copies of Shakedown in your deck because you need to draw them both together. But arsenaling is a thing, and then over the course of a lot of games, like it is really effective as just more copies of a disruption against the decks that don't want to block. Another thing is you can draw multiple copies of Just a Nick, right? And what happens when you play 2 on one of your stealth cards, then it becomes a 3-card 11 with banish 2 cards off the top, and maybe the stealth card has an additional condition, right? Then it becomes like really good. So this card's just absolutely insane. New, of course, is running it because Double Trouble, like Blue Double Trouble, is one of her key staple cards, and having one of those two reactions. If you have another one, then it becomes an 8 for 2 cards plus an additional reaction, and banishes 3 cards off the top. So yeah, really good. Just a Nick is, I think, one of the key motivators for deck building Azuri to be more blue stealth heavy, because you get to run this card, and it's just crazy. If you're running a more redline Azuri in the current meta, then you essentially lose access to Just a Nick, which innately makes your deck weaker.
Yeah, and if you can line up the Magic Christmas Land, you can have triple Just a Nick with Bonds of Agony. Which is
right, of course. Getting a 19 on hit. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about persuasive prognosis first. Right. Okay. So this card is great for new, great for Azuri. I think for new, it's kind of self-explanatory, right? Like new has a lot of ways to get this to hit, and you're running a lot of blue stealth anyways. Of course, you run this. It's like crazy, right? Just straight up. You're against opponents that don't want to block. Like they kind of have to block because otherwise it's going to banish the card from the top of their deck, and then you're going to look at their hand and rip a card from that. So even though it's not fully guaranteed, but it's still pretty consistent. So yeah, this card's really good. For Azuri, this card is extremely good because one of the few issues that Azuri had prior to this set was that sometimes you got flooded with stealth cards. Like if your hand is like a bunch of blue stealth or like even red stealth cards, sometimes the best you're doing is like dagger, and here's a 3-power stealth. Maybe it's a red infect in the best case scenario, and it's like you can kind of represent 5 damage off of that, but it's generally not what you want to be doing with wide Azuri hands, right? The fact that like more of your stealth cards can actually do stuff is really good, because when you're stealth flooded, one of those stealth cards might be Persuasive Prognosis, and you can at least force a block or just like force your opponent to do something. So yeah, crazy card. Azuri, of course, you can present this. They block with 1 card, you flip into a Shakedown and take another card. So this card's so good. I love it.
And just to fact check this, like if you banish 2 cards, like 1 from hand, 1 from deck, you still only gain 1 life, I believe.
No, this one it doesn't look for pairs. Like whenever this banishes an action card, gain 1 life. So if you banish an action card off the top and then you rip another one from their hand, it's going to be 2 life.
Okay, that just makes it even
Yeah,
crazier.
yeah. This it can, yeah. For some reason, they decided to add an additional rider that you can gain a life off of it. So like, you could just like rip a card from their hand and it's worth 3 points of value. Outside of that, what a card.
Yeah. And then Bonds of Agony. This one's definitely like the highlight, Assassin Majestic because of the effect and like the ceiling. But yeah, if you've played
also the art, the art is really good.
It's not my favorite,
I like
but
it.
I like the art. I like the art, but it's not my favorite of the Majestics. Let's say, if you played or activated
being that guy. I'm just like imagining being that guy. Like I'm just trying to enjoy my tea, and then like suddenly this like demon lady comes and like starts ripping my mouth open.
Sure. All right. If you played 3 or activated 3 or more attack reactions, this chain link, this gets +3. And when this hits a hero, look at their hand and choose a card. Search their deck or hand, deck, and graveyard, and banish up to 3 cards with the same name as the chosen card they shuffle. So this one's a bit of a mouthful, but basically
it is.
You play 3 reactions, it gets +3, so it becomes a 0 for 4 blue. Obviously, playing 3 attack reactions isn't easy, but like your whole deck is built around it, so it's not as hard as you might think. And then you get to search their hand, their deck, and their graveyard, and banish like the same card that they had. Search their hand, deck, and graveyard. So you can just pick any card in existence. And
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, no. So it has to have the same name,
right?
So
it has to have been in.
Banish a card from their hand, and then you can rip all copies or 3 copies of that out of their deck and graveyard.
The other thing that makes me feel like this card is crazy is that if you're in Swiss and this hits with the effect, of course, then you can just like spend like a good like few minutes searching their deck and just seeing all the cards they're running. Tech cards, like if they're running 2 ofs, 3 ofs, whatever. Like in Pokemon, at the start of every game, whenever you tutor your first card,
you gotta look at
cards, you look at your whole deck like multiple times to see what prize cards you have. And then this one gives me the similar vibe where it's like, okay, like anyone that's playing this deck, once they start searching, they're gonna be sitting there for a while. They're like, oh, I'm just I'm looking real hard, and they just memorize.
Well, it's not even just in Swiss, right? Like in top 8, let's say you're playing with open deck lists, and your opponent has an arsenal card. You look at their hand, you look at their graveyard, you look at their deck, and then you consult your memory, like which card is in their arsenal.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
You just know that.
Yeah.
You just know that, like, that some kid wizard is gonna be like at the table, like spending 30 minutes just like looking at every single card to deduce exactly what cards in their opponent's arsenal.
At least assuming that you knew exactly how they sideboarded, right? Like it was very obvious. Like
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, okay. So a few things about this card. Just from testing. Let's talk about new first. New, I think. Between New and Azuri, New has a slightly easier time getting this live. So generally, the ways you'd get this live are you're almost mandatorily have a reaction in hand, which for New is very very easy. Like you always have a reaction in hand. So you play this, you react from hand, and then if necessary, you break one of your equipment. This is why I think Arousing Wave in the hand slot is pretty good because it's 2 reacts, right? So you play 1 react from hand. If it's not like a hiss or a venomous bite, then you don't have a second react from hand. So like your arms piece acts as 2 reactions.
Yep.
So you can make that live. Generally, you're going to be going additional power above that from your attack reaction. Let's say your attack reaction gives +3, and your Fang Strike from the Arousing Wave gives another +1 for +4, and this is 4, so that's 8, right? Mm-hmm. That means this card is like incredibly difficult to block up front because if you put 3 in front of it, and they have like you never put 3 in front of this, right? Because they're always. If they have 3 reactions, it's going to be 4. So if you have a reaction, then you're banking on them, none of their other reactions giving +1, which is just not going to happen. So like you need to have 2 reactions to make that live. But 2 reactions doesn't even cover this because just a Nick +2 plus Arousing Wave, right? That's +6. And this has 4 power, so that's 10, right? 2 reactions does not cover that, right? So against New, I've been playing like the Azuri New matchup a lot on the Azuri side, and against New, like when she shows you this up front, if she has like 2 cards in hand, you never block this. You just let her have it because it's like you're not gonna be able to block it out.
Is there any argument to just dropping your whole hand, kind of like Glistening Steelblade back in the day, or Steelblade Supremacy from Dory, for example?
I think I'd rather let her have 1 of my cards than dropping my entire hand. And like she got 3 cards of my choice. 1 card of her choice is better than 3 cards of my choice. And if she can go over that, like you're giving up you'd be giving up 3 cards at least to stop this thing. Like you block 6 up front, she just a Nyx, and then you have to like de-react on top of that. Like it's so hard to make this to block this thing out. So I think my advice, if you sit across a new that plays this, is just don't block.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of advice that I've heard from people who, for example, can't beat. Maybe they play a slower deck like Guardian, right? And they can't beat like the second cycle new. Is just stop blocking, go face, and see what happens.
An interesting thing about this card also is that even if you block with your whole hand, and they get over and it hits you, they actually get to look through your deck anyways. So if you look at the wording of this card, when they say to hero, look at their card and choose a card, it doesn't say then if you do, search your hand, blah blah blah. I think it's probably because they want to compress the amount of text in this card because there's a lot of text already.
Yeah.
So they shorten the second trigger. So it's only 1 trigger. So you always get to search their hand, deck, and graveyard and banish up to 3 cards. In this case, you'd be banishing 0 cards, but you get to force them to shuffle their deck. So very good against Kano, right? Because they're not going to be able to have 3D reacts probably to block this out. So you hit them with this, you banish, even if they like Kano away their whole hand, you still get to mess up their pitch stack. And pitch stacking is one of the key ways that Kano gets to beat Assassin, is by going for a second cycle. So yeah, great card against Kano. So on the Azuri deck building side, it's a little bit harder to get this live. It does solve one of your issues where if you have a stealth flooded hand, what you can do is you play a different stealth card, you flip into this, and you activate 2 equipment to make it make it 4, and then like essentially you just like magic to a surgical extraction out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is like theoretically with a 1-card hand, you can activate your Black Tech Whispers, your Massacre Perdition, and your Flick Knives to get 3 reacts. Just again like forcing value out of an otherwise dead hand.
Yeah.
This card is actually one of the reasons I think Massacre Perdition is now a strong consideration in Azuri. Like previously, you were basically just running Cop or even in the contract heavy list, Cop or Balance. Like you'd run it Balance for sure against the decks that can draw 2, and then maybe Cop. It's still situationally better than Massacre Perdition, but because Bonds of Agony exists and you want additional reactions, you should strongly consider running Massacre Perdition in Azuri. Another thing you can do with Azuri is that if you play this card and you have a card in your hand that's not an attack action that's 2 or less cost, you can activate Azuri, banish that card, leave it in banish, but it still counts as a reaction, right? So like you could like you play this, banish a different card, activate 2 equipment. It's kind of like a desperation move, but it's I mean like. I've tested against Azuri where like, against Enigma where she's trying to like ward me out, and I have this. I play this, banish a D-react, play just a Nick, and then activate Vambrace, and that's 3 reactions, right? Azuri, Vambrace, and just a Nick, and then this thing is 9 power, and that's a lot for her to get through. So
yep.
Yeah,
and plus 1 more from the Vambrace against ward.
Right, exactly.
Pseudo 10, yeah.
Pseudo 10, yeah.
Yeah, all the assassin specific Majestics are all extremely good in both.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're running 9.
More so in
all
new
9
for more so in new for Bonds, but even in Azuri, like card is still good.
In Azuri, you still run 3 of this, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you're running all 9 of these Majestics. So like, again, on the monetary side of things, this becomes a deck that you're not really running that many commons and rares. Like a huge chunk of your deck is Majestics because you're running like the 3 Leave No Witnesses, you're running 3 Surgicals, you're running 3 Codex of Frailty is like a $70 card or something right now. CNC, you're running 3 CNCs, so that's like another $80 each. So prepare to mortgage one of your kidneys or something if you want to play Assassin in this meta.
So basically, what I'm hearing is if you like to flex your bling, play Assassin.
Yeah.
And you don't like Illusionist, then play Assassin. Well, actually, if you don't like Illusionist, maybe you should play a deck that beats Illusionist. So maybe not Assassin.
Maybe not Assassin. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the Assassin commons. I haven't really looked through most of these, but let's just cover.
Yeah.
The
so
blues,
there are a
example.
lot. Right. There are a lot that are kind of draft chaff, but like the Art of Desires, actually, these are one of the ones that we should just look at all 3 colors, because a lot of new lists are running the reds as well, right? Because it's not only just a 3 power instead of 1 power, but also the condition changes. So when this hits, banish the top card of the deck. Whenever this banishes a blue card, draw a card and gain 1 life. So this is one of your staple blues because it can draw a card to refill your arsenal. The Art of Desire body specifically is really good because when you attack with it, your opponent often wants to block it out so that you don't like banish one of their top cards and gain three damage and gain a life and draw a card. But New's ability makes it so that whatever action card they block with gets banished when the chain link closes, right? So most decks in Flesh and Blood are blue and red,
Yes.
because that's optimal. Which means that if they block this card with a blue, then it's live for activating New later.
I see.
And
Your
then
attacks with stealth get.
right.
It's not new.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your attack.
It's part of the attack, right? It's the same
Yep.
as like Mask of Perdition. It adds the ability to the attack. So
Yep.
when they block with this with a blue, then the blue gets banished, and then you can play it later with New. If they block with a red, then you draw a card and gain a life. So this card is like a really difficult fork. And also, if they block with one card, very often you're going to reaction to get over to hit them and banish another card off the top of their deck. So really good card in red.
You can draw twice.
Yeah, you can draw twice. Yeah, and sometimes it's relevant because you slither this and you get you give it go again, and then you can like draw twice and play more cards. It's great. I think the red and the blue are both staples in New. Unfortunately, the yellow has the same issue as every other yellow in Flesh and Blood. Is like, well, they're not running yellows. Why are you running this, right? Because the condition of this is you have to banish a yellow. So that's not happening unless you're against Prism, maybe.
Yeah. Bonds of Attraction.
Bonds of Attraction. I think this one mostly comes in blue. But so Bonds of Attraction and Bonds of Memory, one row down, is a very similar card. Where Bonds of Attraction is like, so when this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck, then banish a card from their graveyard. Whenever this banishes a card, if it has a banish card with another same color, you gain a life. With Bonds of Memory, it says if it has banished another card with the same name, gain one life. So most of the time, Bonds of Attraction is better because it's more likely to have a same color pair than a same name pair. Sometimes Bonds of Memory, like because if they're running 9 of a certain card, like back in the day, Lexi was running 9 Bolton Shots. I think Azalea maybe still runs 9 Bolton Shots. Then you're gonna have 9 that maybe it's easy to get a same name pair. But I think most of the time you're gonna be running this at blue because it's the on hit is not crazy, but it's still pretty solid and it's it's a blue block 3, so that's a pretty good floor. Do note that the life gain condition, it's kind of contentious whether or not you gain 1 or 2 life from this, because as of recording, the release notes and the rules reprise that released a couple days later, they disagree. The release notes essentially say that if you banish a pair, you gain 2 life, and the rules reprise says that you actually only gain 1 life. So intuitively, I think when you look at this card, if you're not like very well versed in the rules, it seems like it would only gain 1 life because like, okay, you banish a card and you don't have a pair, and then you banish a second card, it matches, then you gain a life, right?
Yeah.
Actually, the way the Flesh and Blood works is that the second line there, whenever this banishes a card, if this has a banished another card with the same color, gain 1 life. So Flesh and Blood does not have what's called the intervening if clause rule, where like in Magic the Gathering, if a trigger has an if clause in the middle of the sentence, it means that it checks twice, both to see if it would trigger at all, and then it checks again on resolution. Flesh and Blood does not have this rule. So if you have the word whenever or when or like at the beginning of your turn, when you have those trigger words, that trigger always goes on the stack. So what happens is with this card is it hits in your resolution step, the first trigger goes on the stack. When this hits a hero, banish the top card of the deck and banish a card from their graveyard, right? That's all part of the same trigger. So when the first trigger resolves, you banish 2 cards. And then the second trigger, okay, whenever this banishes a card, it sees 2 different banishes, so it triggers twice. So then that trigger goes on the stack 2 times. The first resolves and says, yeah, it matches because like by this point you've banished 2 cards with the same color, so you'd gain life. And the second trigger of that life gain resolves again, and you gain another life. So if you apply the rules exactly as written, it should gain you 2 life. But the rules reprise from a couple days ago says you only gain 1 life. I think if it gains 2 life, this card is like actually crazy strong because like essentially a 3-value blue is like on rate with blue infect, but also you get to banish cards from their deck. And for New, obviously banishing cards from the graveyard is crazy, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I think it's interesting because if you go by the rules, as you said, as the rule system is currently, this should gain you 2 life, but maybe in the rules, like later on, they just like give it a little nerf, be like, oh, just kidding, it just gains you 1.
Yeah, or maybe they'll issue like an errata for this card that like actually we intended it to only gain you 1 life instead of 2 life. So.
Yeah. And so we covered Bonds of Attraction and Bonds of Memory.
Yeah,
as you said, Attraction's more likely to
probably just in blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, Double Trouble. Oh yeah, I mean
Memory's a
it's
little
the same,
different.
basically the
Yeah,
same card.
like
Well,
even
it's basically
Azalea
the same
now
card, right?
doesn't really
Yeah.
run 9 bolt and shot anymore, right? They
Yeah.
just but maybe if you want more blues that gain you life, then Bonds of
Mhm.
Memory can go. But yeah, let's go into Double Trouble.
Okay, this card is a stable and new. So in Azuri, I think it's just bad. You're
Mhm.
rarely gonna get 2 reactions on a blue stealth, but for new, that's a pretty easy to do. Like one hiss or one venomous bite will do it, and then becomes a 3 power that gets buffed again. So like maybe it's a 6 power blue off of 2 cards,
Mhm.
and also banishes 2 cards off the top, which is a pretty good rate. I think you run the reds as well if you're playing new, because it's essentially like because of the condition so easy to fulfill. It's a 5 power red, which is pretty above rate.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think
I'm really high on this card.
for this to be like a 2 card with hiss or the other one, you would need a tunic counter, right? Because then
Right.
yeah, but
Well,
for
no,
that one
you actually
resource.
you have to actually no, you have to have a blue because you need to pitch a blue
Oh
to
yeah, that's right.
enable hiss or venomous bite. So that actually makes it a little bit tricky. It actually becomes a 3 card
Yeah, it
attack.
becomes a 3 card
But
hand.
yeah.
But like for example, if you get like the +1 version, then it's 1 for 4, and then the red
Mhm.
becomes 5, 9, 3 card 9, banish 2 cards. That's like pretty good.
Yeah.
And generally, like in the past, Assassin was kind of known for being disruptive, but like sometimes underrate. So anything that can get you towards that good rate while also doing other stuff is good, right?
Also, like it's just live off of Tunic and your Arousing Wave hands, right? So like
Yeah.
you play the blue, you Tunic counter for Arousing Wave, and then it becomes a 4 power that banishes because the Fang Strike gives another +1, so it becomes 4 power that banishes 2 cards off the top. So yeah, pretty good card. I don't think you run the yellows just because you don't really want to be pitching yellows in this deck, and then if you play it, then it just becomes 0 for 4, which is like exactly on rate, and that's not really where you want to be with this deck. So
Mhm.
yeah.
All right. 2 more stealth, or no, 3, 4 more stealth cards.
Let's
Desires
skip.
a flesh.
Okay.
Draft?
So we skip
Oh,
all that. We
draft.
skip all the desire ones. Yeah, desires of flesh, Mind's desire, impulsive desire. Like these are all draft chaff. The
Okay.
conditions are not as good. You don't have enough room in the deck to run all these, so we skip
Mhm.
those.
Pick to
Okay, pick the pieces.
pieces.
This card's so good. I love this card.
It's better malign.
So it's better. It's better than Malign.
Yeah. If you played or
um,
activated an attack reaction, this chain link, this gets +1, and damage that would be dealt by this can be prevented. For the viewers that don't know, malign is the same thing except it doesn't get +1. It's just 0 for 1. Damage can't be prevented. So I
right.
guess technically you can argue that you don't need an attack reaction for malign, right? But
Yeah, but like if you're playing against, so this is obviously an anti-enigma card, right?
yes.
Or maybe an anti-prism card. If you play if you're playing it into Enigma or Prism, you're probably running Vambrace. And Vambrace is that reaction that makes this live, right? So like this thing is always live. 2 power is a lot more than 1 power when they might be running Finazzel Footsteps against you. And also, of course, because it has 1 power, you can Just a Nick it. Just a Nick takes it up to 7 instead of 6. And 7, as we know in Flesh and Blood, is a lot more than 6.
Yep.
So this card's great. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, like because if you play pick to pieces, they block 6. You
Just a Nick them.
Just a Nick goes to 7, pops all of their ward.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be blocking 6 because it goes up to 7, but
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
That's a good deterrent, right?
Yeah.
They can't block 6 against it. They have to like be prepared to block more than that. And I think because Enigma is shaping up to be a serious meta threat, you have to run the 3 blues. You might consider running the reds as well. I think the reds are a little bit trickier. Probably not for Azuri because you don't have a reliable way to make them go up. But like if you run the reds, like if you have a +3 on it, then it becomes 7 power as well, which is fine.
Okay, but coming from a Guardian player, I can somewhat relate. But do you think Enigma is shaping up to be a meta threat because you're an assassin player, or do you really just think at her core she's very powerful?
I think some of her matchups are polarized. It's just that like her spread is better than most heroes, right?
Yeah.
I think like she shockingly enough in testing she has game into KO. Like I thought KO would just run her over, but like no. The fact that like she can take damage with life and then shit out wards and then do a bunch of damage and then those wards block on the next turn makes her numbers just shockingly good.
Mm-hmm.
And then against Guardian, free win. Against Azalea, her ward.
I don't know about free win. Maybe honestly. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Against Azalea, like she can block dominates. So like they're gonna be running like soon enough Azalea's gonna be running like the yellow Murkmire grapples or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. She's So like I think one of her worst matchups is Ninja. If you discount Vincent, like Vincent might be in the meta just because she dunks
Because
on
of Enigma.
Enigma.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think even if she's like not if Enigma's not top of the meta, she's gonna warp the meta around being able to play into Enigma.
Yeah.
If you're playing Assassin and you know your Enigma's matchup is bad, which it is, you must run 3 blue pick to piece and maybe consider running a few of the reds in your sideboard.
Yep. Makes sense. Let's see. That was the last stealth card. A lot of good stealth cards. They basically
Yeah.
just kind of power corrupt the old stealth
They
cards.
they juice the crap out of these stealth cards. Yeah, these are so good.
Surely the next assassin set will go back to contract, and then
Yeah, surely.
Arachne will eat good in like a year and a half.
Arachne's getting a demi hero that makes them like I don't know, like look at the top 2 cards instead of the top 1 card.
I guess before we go to the generics, do you want to cover like quickly some of like the let's talk about the transcend cards first. So like for example, the mask plays into transcend very well. So is it a situation of you just play all of them, or is there some that you think are clearly not very good, so maybe pass?
Yeah, initially I was thinking you only run maybe 2 or 3 because you don't assassin tends to block pretty well and these don't block very well. Now that the mask is live all the time,
yeah,
I don't know, man. The numbers on these things are really good because the pitching to the mask always trades them with 1 card, and then they usually have 1 point of value or more in some way, right? So let's look at the best one, pass over. Like, of course you run pass over, right? You banish a blue from your opponent's graveyard so that you can play it. New can have issues in second cycle where she plays her opponent's blues and then they go out of banish and into the graveyard, and then she runs out of blues to play, right? So you want to have enough fuel, like from Passover, from Undercurrent Desires, from your your bonds of attraction, bonds of memory, to get those graveyard cards back into banish so you can play them more. So yeah, Passover's a staple card. Another staple one is what's the go again one called? Path Well Traveled.
Path Well Traveled. Yep.
I hear Enigma mains griping about this card a lot. How it's like the worst one for them, and they don't want to ever play it. But for new, again, staple card. Go again on Assassin is really good. A class that historically has not had that much native go again. And then a few of the others, like Drop in the Ocean, -1 to opponent's attack, and then Grain that tips the scale +1 to your own attack. I think Grain is probably better than Drop, because you want your own hits.
You would have to play on your opponent's turn, which is a little more
exactly.
Awkward.
Yeah. It is pretty awkward.
What about Stir the Pot though? Stir the Pot.
I've seen people play it. I think you could consider it to declump your cheese, but like I don't know. If you're getting to that point, like just build better so that you don't get to that point, Rising Sun, Setting Moon. So I think this card is not bad. Like it's a sync-ish effect, but you draw first, which is obviously a lot better than putting a card from your hand first. Assassin sometimes has issues with like being like a kind of a 2-piece hand where you need a thing and a thing that interacts with that thing, right? Azuri, you need a stealth card and a thing to flip into. New needs like an attack and an attack reaction. So if you have too much of one or the other, then this card is a great way to bail yourself out.
I think the fact that you can draw and then sync is like pretty amazing.
Yeah. Pretty good card. Yeah. Homage, 1 life, I think it's playable. Like it's always 1 point of value, whereas a lot of the other ones were conditional. It's not like you're not super excited about it, but yeah, sure, it's fine. And then there's a Preserve Tradition to recycle one of your action cards. I think this card is pretty solid. Getting back, like maybe you ran out your Codices early, and then you get back another Codex of Frailty, nice power card, or you get back one of your like blue stealth that does something like your prognosis, for example. Solid card. So I think you probably run that as well. So I don't really know how many of these you run. Somewhere between 2 and maybe 6 or 7. But you definitely it's a big range. Yeah, because like I don't know, man. You gotta run some number of transcends. So it remains to be seen what's the optimal number. But I think not many of these are terrible. So
yeah. It could also just be maybe you run all of them, and depending on the matchup, decides what goes.
It trims them. Yeah. I think Assassin is already a class that has sideboard trouble. Like you don't have enough space for other cards. So I don't know if you really have the luxury of like running all of them and then taking out some depending on the matchup.
Makes sense. All right, then going on to the Mystic cards, we have the Tenets. I still don't really know what all of these do unless I clicked on them, but like these Tenets are like one portion of each strike.
E-strike, yeah, exactly.
So, um,
Man, they had such a good opportunity to like do a fabled E-strike the way they did fabled CSC,
yeah,
and then they just didn't take it.
that would have been
Why?
really
Oh,
cool. But yeah, so like these first tenets of Chi, Moon, Tide, and Wind, it's like each portion of E-strike, the next blue action card you play this turn gets that effect. Either go again, draw a card, or +2. Do you ever see these like potentially making space as like?
I think most of these are just kind of crap for new in particular. You don't need the block 3 because all of your stuff blocks 3 anyways, or blocks 0. Like spending an entire card for go again, like you already have one of your transcend cards for that. Like yeah, these cards are like these are not worth an entire card. And
yeah,
also the
like even the attack react and defense react, like you're not really
like
pitching that
these
many blues, for example. This
right.
Enigma potentially, or like draft mostly, but yeah.
I don't see anyone running wide blue yonder. Like who's using this card? +1 for each blue card you pitch.
Hey.
Like you pitch 3 blues, and it's like a 0 for 3. You're like, wow, what an incredible reaction.
Hey, maybe if Kano could play this, he would, you know. And if it wasn't an attack reaction, it was a arcane pump.
Yeah, arcane pump. Sure. Kano would definitely play that because he's like on his pop-off turn, he's pitching like 10 blues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have the the Orihan, the book, the tome, basically. if
Orihan. So an Orihan is a type of codex, funnily enough.
Oh, okay. It's specifically a subgenre of codex or subtype.
Yes. Orihan. Yeah, because like it refers to like a fan type book where like instead of being like bound properly, like you kind of unfold it. Anyway, you draw 2 cards. If you pitch a cheater to play this, I don't think this is a new card. Like first cycle god awful. Yeah,
like maybe I think it's more of like a meme Zen combo card, or maybe it's even good in Zen. I don't know. But Enigma is also like a big maybe on this card because like you're already doing like a lot of good stuff. It's not like you're chaining tomes together or anything.
Right.
Attune with cosmic vibrations. Reveal. Once again, it's like it seems a little too conditional that like it probably doesn't maybe see play, but maybe it does. Who knows?
Yeah, but it's like this is a 0 for 2, dude. Like when are you playing this?
I mean, reveal a top card of their deck. If it's blue, it's 0 for 5 blue. All of a sudden, it's neat.
I mean, if I know one thing about like TCG players, like they hate conditional effects like this that are like outside of their own control, right? Like this is completely outside of your own control. Blues are like the one category of your cards that you don't want to be boarding in and out too much because you want your blues to just like be solid. Like you pitch them, they block for 3, and then maybe in second cycle they do something else. With this card, like who knows what it does? Right?
Okay, but Cosmic Awakening though, you're all the 7 chi late game. You come in 4 card 20. Yeah.
I think what happens instead is like your opposing new banishes this and they try to play it and it's 0.
And they play it for free and it comes in for 0. Well, actually,
no, it has to be pitched to play this
specifically. Exactly right. So if you activate News ability, you can't even pitch for it, right?
Yeah, it doesn't count. Yeah.
So it just does nothing. Yeah.
All right, nice meme card. Maybe some enigmas or any of this. I don't know.
The one good card.
Okay, yeah, okay. This card is actually like not bad. Okay, I think this card is like a questionable include, and is worth further testing. So, new out of the 3 heroes, Mystic heroes, I think possibly utilizes this the best because of her ready access to pitch outlets in the form of her daggers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have a 3-card hand. And your opponent doesn't block. So what happens is like you Beckoning Mistblade, and then you some other dagger, and then you play this and you choose +2 and draw a card. Yep. So that's a 3-card hand. But what happens is like your daggers used to do 1 damage, and then this becomes 5 + 1 from the Mistblade. Go again. So it becomes a total of 8 damage, and you still have go again. And then because you pitched 2 blues, you still have one energy left over, right?
Yep.
And draw a card. Because the draw card replaces itself, it's a pseudo 2-card 8 go again, which is really good numbers. However, Assassin also makes is the worst at blind draws if you want to do something this turn, because you don't know which half of your hand, which half of your deck you're drawing into. Assassin's fine at like pondering into a card because like you can arsenal pretty much anything.
Yes.
But you're not very good at like making use of an additional card on this turn. So if your hand is like 2 crappy blues and this, you can pitch the daggers, swing with this, and then arsenal a card. But that becomes a 3-card
8. Draw
essentially
card.
a three card 8 that makes a ponder, right?
That's pretty.
Which is
That's
like
better than
it.
Guardian. That's better than Guardian.
It's like it's good, but you might rather just be like sending blue, like more
Persuasive
copies of
prognosis or
your.
something. Yeah.
Well, obviously persuasive, like even like the less good stealth cards, like you rather just be like, beckoning Mistblade. If it hits, here's a blue stealth for 2, and then it banishes another card from your graveyard that I can play later, and then I can arsenal the third card in my hand for the later turn. And you have a similar turn that's not as much damage, but it's still like, a value off of new. So I think it could be good, but it could also clunk up your hands when you have hands that, like, because your hands, you want, your stealth cards and your things that pump stealth cards. This is neither of those, so it clunks up your hands some more. And also, like, maybe you want to run D-reacts because like in the Assassin Mirror, D-reacts are really important, so that clunks up your hands even more. So like it dilutes your deck building to the point where you're not really consistently drawing the attack half and the attack reaction half of your deck. And because you need to already moderate like the amount of attack reactions you have in your deck so that you don't draw hands that are all reactions, you need to really consider whether or not you really want to run Levels of Enlightenment, because it dilutes your deck building.
Keep in mind, this is coming from Taotao, for example. I think in general, like, no, first, I don't mean this as an insult, but just like in general, you tend to play like the slower style assassin. Would that be a fair assessment, or like way to phrase it? Like, for example, a lot of Azuris will run nimblism stuff, etc., right? And that's not your style, right? But for example, like when I see this card, I see of it more as like a new deck that wants to push like more on rate things, for example, for whatever reason. Maybe they have a certain matchup that they want to improve by, adding nimblism or certain on rate cards rather than, play for second cycle, disrupt, banish, gain life, things like that. So at least from my perspective, that's how I see this card potentially fitting an assassin or a new specifically, but like it's, as you're saying, I don't think it's like a necessary include maybe.
Right. So specifically into the Enigma matchup, when you want to be clearing wards, or like into the Prism where you want to be clearing angels, just go again cards are really good, right? This blocks for 3. It can get go again. Again, B strike. Like into those decks, you're probably already running some number of like E strike or looking for a scrap to get that go again. Yeah. So this, like, being able to kind of be 5 go again off of blues, right? You can like dagger this to like 5 go again. That's not bad. So like because it's blue, the floor for including is already a little bit lower. So you should definitely test this out, I think, if you're running new. I don't know if it makes every list.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, that goes through the Mystic cards. All the Mystic equipment are pretty much our draft, or this one you have a helmet that is really insane. So you probably...
this thing's crazy, but it's somehow less crazy than the Mask of Recurring Nightmares, right?
Yeah, like you can run this in Enigma, obviously great. You can run this in Zen if you want to do some cheeky, shifting.
I think in Zen this thing is better than Mask of the Pouncing Lynx.
Really? Because like I think so.
Yeah, because like, well, think about it for Zen, right? Like if you have a card. If you have like literally any hand that's pretty good, but you're missing one card, your attack button attacks, you block with this, you fetch one of your chi, you activate Zen with that chi, you get a Crouching Tiger and any combo card. Mask of the Pouncing Lynx only gets you a 2 power card, right? But this thing can get you, essentially fetches you any combo card plus makes a Crouching Tiger, right? That's how crazy this is.
That is a fair assessment. I guess maybe the one counter is that like maybe you can already transcend, so you don't need the extra chi, or like I know some people are playing like is it Shifting Majestic, I believe. Where is it? The one that where you have to pay a chi for it to name all your tigers something. Right here. Yeah, Shifting Winds of the Mystic Beast.
Swamp. Yeah.
Swamp.
Swamp. So like. Sure, but like if you have another chi, like chi has the floor of just being a blue, right? So
yeah,
you can just pitch it for 3. Like if you have a good hand, even if you have one of those cards is like a transcend card, you can still like flip it into a chi and you pitch it, right? This fetching another chi just means like your Zen is always live, and then you fetch any combo card, and also maybe you don't block with it on those hands where you already have a full condition, like. If you're trying to go off with the Master of the Pouncing Lynx, sometimes you don't use it when you already have a decent enough hand, right? You sometimes, especially on a deck with like a lot of puzzle pieces that need to fit together, like Zen, you want to use your Master of the Pouncing Lynx on like a card that fits the puzzle.
Yep.
And this card essentially can fetch Chase the Tail, or it can fetch like one of your other like 3 or more power combo cards.
It can be any
whereas,
puzzle piece, basically.
Right, it could be any puzzle piece. Whereas with Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, most of the time you're fetching Tiger Swipe, which is a great card, but sometimes it's not exactly what you need, right? Because the Tiger Swipe depends on hitting, and sometimes your opponent is like, I'm blocking that Tiger Swipe all day. I think this card is better than Mask of the Pouncing Lynx.
I guess, or like even we look at Katsu, right? A lot of the times you're playing slightly underrate colors in order to fit the Pouncing Lynx puzzle, right? Whether that's like Yellow Descendant or Blue Bonds. Whereas this doesn't have that issue. It can literally be anything. You can play the highest rate. Maybe you don't even have enough good cards to run.
Well, plus the other thing we're forgetting is that it blocks for 2, whereas Master of the Pouncing Lynx, it breaks itself and then it doesn't block for 2. So it's automatically like 2 points of block is worth at least 3 points of life, right? Just in terms of like blocking on hits. So like you're getting like 2 to 3 value out of the block, and then you're fetching a combo card, and then you're getting a Crouching Tiger. This thing crazy for Zen. I think you have to run this if you're playing Zen.
All right, noted. You can tell that to Nia, who didn't like the card as much in Zen. But let's move on to the generics. First of all, the one that sticks out to me the most as a non-assassin player is Battlefront Bastion, because this helps against assassin.
Right. This card's great against assassin. Yeah. Like I think every Enigma is running some number of this to block daggers, right? Because dagger plus a Vambrace is so annoying for them. And then it also stops Kodachis. Like I don't think you run this in new.
No, I don't think so. But for anyone that wants to beat assassin, you can play this.
Right. Yeah. No, you play this against assassin. It's pretty good against assassin. It's also because it's 7 power. It blocks
Triumph.
Herald Triumph very cleanly. So like in Missouri, like I was already running some number of Raging Onslaught red because it's 7 power to block Triumph. So I like that card since it blocks 3 against other things as well when you're blocking with multiple cards. I don't think like this is a direct replacement for Raging Onslaught. If you just want to like pad out, like if you're fat decking, if you're running like some kind of fatigue deck to like you're swinging Decimator Axe every turn, then you maybe run this in addition to Raging Onslaught, but I don't think you replace Raging Onslaught with it because Raging Onslaught can block 6 when you block it with another card. But still, this card's very good against Assassin, and you definitely run this if you're Enigma.
All right. Is there any like of the generic cards? Obviously, Nimblism. If that's your style, you can run that.
Sure.
Water the Seeds. I don't think you're really running. I mean, you could.
What is this thing?
I mean, 1 for 3. Go again. Then your stealth card comes in for 2, and then I see.
So like then it becomes a 1 for 4 go again, which is like on rate.
Yeah.
but it's like it's still bad. No, that card's bad, dude.
Gravekeeping. Yeah, and blocks 2 probably doesn't really me.
I don't think so. Gravekeeping is interesting. I don't know of any deck right now that's like so graveyard reliant that you'd want to send a 2-block attack for them that's just like wounding blow value. Send it at them just to banish a card from your graveyard, right?
Maybe if you're first cycle new and you want to do something crazy, I don't know.
Yeah, but
this isn't conditional on hitting too. You just need to attack with it, and then you can just pick whatever you want.
Okay, but like you're pitching a blue for this anyway, so you might as well like pitch it for a dagger and then like an attack reaction so you can hit, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that good.
We have the emissary cards. These are all basically Seek Horizon, but E-Strike versions.
Yeah, it's like draft
cards.
Yep.
Blanche is interesting. When this hits a hero, 3 for 7 cards they own lose all colors. Very anti-color, anti-prism.
So, what I really like is that they're printing more like 3 for 7s that do something on hit, because like there are a ton of 2 for 6s that do something on hit. What I don't like is that they're printing all these 3 for 7s at 2 block instead of 3 block. Like for some reason there's actually no generic that's just like strictly better than Raging Onslaught, right? All of them are like 2 block or have like some other condition.
Because of power creep. Taotao, because
no, but that doesn't make any sense to me, because like there's so many 2 for 6s that block 3 and do other stuff.
That's
right.
That's true.
But like, and so like there's so many 2 for 6s that are better, like strictly better than Brutal Assault, but there are no 3 for 7s that are strictly better than Raging Onslaught. Why is this the case?
I want to buff Guardian, maybe. I don't know.
Well, Guardian doesn't run this.
Well, because all the 3 for 7s are bad. If there was a good 3 for 7, then
Guardian would be okay. Yeah, Guardian would be running it. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. This card, I think it hits Prism, hits the Mystic Heroes, but it blocks 2. So I don't know what deck wants to run this instead of like just a better attack. Really, that's in their classes. Yeah.
The weakest link. Does this find
Speaking of 2 for 6s that block for 3, what is going on here?
Azuri card? This one?
I tested it. I don't think it's very good. So the use cases for this are essentially Kano if he has a pot in hand, but then he's just going to pitch it to Kano anyway, so that's useless. Enigma if she has instants in hand, but then she's just gonna she's gonna let it hit her, and then she's gonna, in response to the trigger, play out those no blocks, and then she's gonna reveal some 3 blocks. So that doesn't work. So the real use case is KO, and I think if you're struggling with KO, this is fine. I don't know if it's worth the sideboard space, especially since deck building for Azuri is tending to be a little bit more like blue stealth heavy because Just a Nick exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd rather run 3 Just a Nick, which works against every opponent, instead of 3 of this, which really only works against KO. And also, sometimes it doesn't even work against KO. Like, what if he just has a handful of 3 blocks? And then what's it going to do? So.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a nice tech. I don't know how useful it'll be per se. I'm trying to think if there's any other decks that run like no blocks in abundance, or not even abundance, and just some.
Just in a few. Yeah, I thought, like, when this was first spoiled, I thought it was like an auto include Azuri, and then Justin Nick got spoiled.
Just
anyway, yeah.
Let's see. We have the gloves.
Yeah,
I think
this is
Assassin's
interesting.
gloves are pretty good already, but maybe against like a Katsu deck or a Bolton or something like.
So Assassin's already favored against Ninja, right? Like, you don't need specific Ninja tech. This, if you're playing a different deck that's not Assassin and you want to block Ninja, like you're struggling with Ninja, yeah, sure. I think even against Ninja, like.
Well, Illusionists can run this very well. They generally don't have like crazy gloves.
Enigma's gloves are crazy because they give go again and +1, and they block 1.
Yeah, but you don't want to die to Ninja, you know.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, maybe you block Ninja out with this.
But yeah, any other generics that have a home in Assassin specifically?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it was mainly just maybe this goes in Azuri. Oh, just kidding, just a Nick. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Expansion slot cards, no Assassin stuff because that's the main point of the set. I think we mostly covered everything about, Assassin, New, Azuri. I think you don't like, for example, at the beginning of the video, you said you don't think New's overpowered per se, but you think she's, very good. She has her strengths. She has her weaknesses.
Right. So initially in testing, like, I was kind of dooming about Azuri being like New's just better against everything. Actually, like, I'm not so sure that's true. Mm-hmm. Especially running the like Azuri versus New matchup a lot. Azuri feels like she actually has a stronger first cycle, namely that, like, she has a lot of cards that like have power numbers printed on the bottom left that are just big, right? So like you have fairly reliable 6 power coming in. She has like access to the same number of disruption cards that New does, right? Like if we're not counting cards like Intimate Inducement as disruption. She has access to the same number of like stealth disruption plus 3 copies of Shakedown, right? So in theory, Azuri has more disruption in first cycle, and a lot of times it feels like New in first cycle it's spinning a lot of wheels. But if you have like D-Reacts to kind of block her a little bit, she doesn't do a lot of damage, and you can often get up on like a pretty decent life lead against her, because even if she's like reacting against her 1 power stealth cards, the stealth cards still only have 1 base power, right? So if it's not just a Nick, you're still spending multiple cards to do some damage. And often, like the no block plan, you just say, no, I don't block, and then you just throw more damage at her. Often that can work pretty well in first cycle, which is why I think the New versus KO matchup is going to be pretty interesting. Where like I found a pretty decent amount of success into KO as Azuri, because Azuri's damage output, like once you factor in the pretty consistent disruption of taking away KO's cards, Azuri's first cycle damage output is actually fairly on par with KO, which is why she can keep up. Whereas New, I think if KO goes no block, may struggle with just the amount of damage output. However, if you get to second cycle against New, she kills like almost every deck in the meta, just off of her hero ability, being able to play their blues and like have a consistent go again. Like in the second cycle, maybe you're running out armor, so you can't really block the Beckoning Mistblade. Then she activates New, and then she plays one of your blues. Then she plays the second one of your blues. So there's just a lot that she can do in the late game that's really powerful. So I think the matchup spread becomes a little bit different, but she's not necessarily like strictly better than Azuri. That's my initial assessment.
Okay, makes sense. I think last question for any viewers is, which deck do you think is harder to play, new or Zuri, for someone who's like maybe either new to the game or new to Assassin, for example?
I think they're both very difficult. So their assassin is like fairly straightforward to play at a basic level. When you can just like maybe I block with 2 cards, I throw out a card plus some disruption. The issue is that like uh, I think it's the case with most decks in Flesh and Blood, where eking out the upper levels of performance is extremely difficult, because your numbers just tend to not be as good. And Assassin, I think, is one of the only true control decks in Flesh and Blood where almost every turn you're able to disrupt your opponent in some way to make them not play the game plan the way they want to. So being able to like juggle that disruption versus like how many cards do you block with versus like do you want to actually do enough damage to kill your opponent, is difficult. And plus, both of these decks are fairly consistent second cycle decks, where against slower decks, like you need to be able to consider like, do I have enough cards in my deck? If I'm playing new, like maybe I'm going to be drawing 4 chi in one hand in the really late game, and then even though I have a really good hero ability, I can't block, and maybe I'm just going to die to raw damage, right? Azuri, you have to consider like how many cards can I throw out and block with. Like if I block, even though I'm very efficient at blocking, I can't just block efficiently every turn. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of cards in my deck against. Like I've been fatigued by KOs before, just because their numbers are like 6 and like claw swings for 3 or 4, and you can't, even if you can block all that out efficiently, you don't have enough cards left in your deck to beat like a fat stack of like 65 cards that KO is running. So because you have to consider each turn with not just what's going to happen on this turn cycle, but also the entire game, it's very difficult. Plus, because you're going second cycle, it's very important to be able to memorize pitch stacks of not just like if you're playing Kano, for example. One key skill is to be able to memorize your entire pitch stack to be able to combo kill your opponent with like 3 Ether Wildfires in one turn. If you're playing Assassin, it's not as critical to memorize like the exact order of your own deck, but you do want to memorize your opponent's pitch stack as well, because if you could perfectly memorize your opponent's stack, then you essentially know what's in your opponent's hand at any given time. And given that a lot of your cards like care about like color pairs in the hand and like disrupting from the hand, it's critical to know what your opponent has in their hand. And if your opponent has like 2 no blocks in hand, like then you know this is my turn where I'm gonna smash through these on hit effects and just ruin my opponent. So optimal assassin play, unfortunately, involves a lot of memorization of not just your own deck, but your opponent's deck as well. That means because you play against such a wide variety of matchups, for a new player, you need to, because you're disrupting, you need to know every single matchup in the game that can come up. If you like hit your opponent with a shakedown, you need to know what color to name at what point in the game. Like maybe against KO, you're most of the time you're naming reds in the early game, but like if they're at the last 2 hands of their first cycle and they haven't seen their 3rd Blood Rush Bellow yet, you're probably going to name yellow to banish that last Blood Rush Bellow. But that means you need to know exactly how many cards go into first cycle and like how tall their deck is. So you're going to be counting your opponent's deck a lot, and there's just like a lot of these skills that take a long time to develop in Flesh and Blood, and involve a lot of game knowledge and memorization. So I think to play at a basic level, these decks are not hard. You can just like pitch dagger, throw out a stealth card, throw out attack reactions, and try to kill your opponent, and you can still have a lot of fun with that. But the fact that not only is it very difficult to play well at a high level, but also Assassin is like one of the most, if not the most expensive deck in the game to play at a competitive level, means that I think I don't know if I can recommend classic constructed competitive Assassin to a new player.
All right, well that was a great answer. Basically, they're both hard and they're expensive. So really think twice before building this deck. Yeah, I think one of the devs also said that new might have been like one of the hardest decks to play in the game. So, Assassin in general, I think Assassin is such a cool class. Like I considered playing it before, but then it's just like I don't know. I'm just like a little
it's also like
simpleton guardian gamer.
Right, if you don't know that you're gonna love playing the class, and then you buy into it, and you realize like you don't like it, you just drop like over $1,000 on a deck that you don't like. Like
yeah, I mean there's Talishar and there's TTS, so like people have ways of like giving things a try first. But yeah,
Yeah, I think, but also like those online simulators definitely don't simulate what it's like to play this deck in real life. Just because like the memorization aspect becomes different in paper.
that's true.
And yeah, and also another important skill is the round timer because Taotao doesn't have that. But like when you're in a 55-minute round, you need to play really fast to kill guardians. Like in the last meta when I was playing Azuri against Guardian, one of my kill conditions is last ditch effort, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to be able to get to your last ditch effort combo turn, and that means like weathering through 40 hammer swings or something. So you know, being able to play through your turn cycles quickly while also making all these important micro decisions. And I think like very appropriately for Assassin, you're balancing on a razor's edge with every turn. And if you play one turn wrong, that's going to cascade down to your second cycle, 20 turns from now. So yeah, difficult deck to play, but also very rewarding, and I think going to be a meta powerhouse in the upcoming meta.
All right, well, you heard it here first. Taotao approved himself. He thinks Assassin will be the best class after Birth of Mistveil drops. But
that's right. That's right.
Oh, he didn't deny it. All right, perfect. All right, let's see. I think that's just about covers everything. Thanks for coming on, Taotao. Thank you for your time. I think maybe one last closing statement for the video is any question you have for the viewers, for maybe the ones that were able to make it this far, or any juicy nugget of information for those that made it to the end of the video.
So I think one thing we didn't touch on, so I'll touch on a tangent here, is that the amount of defensive cards you want to run in new is different from Azuri. Because you have so little space, or you have so much space that is taken up by attack reactions, like just running, throwing in like 3 Sinks, 3 Fate for Scenes, and like some Oasis for Spites, you might not have enough room for all of them. So it's going to be kind of a delicate dance between like how many defense reactions you can afford to trim versus how many you need to run, especially in the mirror where defense reactions are very powerful. So not only is the the offensive side difficult to deck build, but also considering the defensive side as well. Yeah, this is a very tricky hero to not just play, but also to deck build. So good luck, Brewers. This is going to be a very fun one.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see someone like the first top 8 at Nationals that's new, and then everyone just starts building from there, because you see the first success pillar, and everyone just kind of builds.
Right, of course.
A few cards.
Yeah, just copy them, right?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's the day and age we're in, right? All right, but yeah. So for those that made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll have the Enigma one out sometime soon-ish. I'll try to get that out sooner than later, but especially when I'm recording with other people, I got to set up times, and life gets in the way of some things. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
And stay lubed.
And stay lubed.